Hello, hello, hello. My name is Lee Cara. This is Unleash Your Light. It's been a minute since I sat here and chatted with you guys, but I am very happy and excited to be back in the saddle, as they say. So today is, let's see, July something, mid-July, maybe the 14th. And good morning to anyone out there from the Appalachian Mountains. I used to broadcast from somewhere along the East Coast, and now I am broadcasting from the Appalachian Mountains, 3,000 feet above sea level. It is absolutely gorgeous here, and I am just enamored with my surroundings. It's been a very interesting 2 years or so, maybe almost 3 years since we've spoken. And I've had a lot happen to me in the meantime, but we won't go into all of that in this little video. I'm just happy to be back. For those of you who don't know, Unleash Your Light is all about simple things we can do in our everyday life to embrace unconditional love. It is the simple spirituality of self, and it is that space where we embrace the divine within us, where we allow that divine energy to shine, to unleash your light. And so today we're actually going to talk about that unconditional love. What is unconditional love? Does it even still exist in our current atmosphere, in our current environment? We look around and we see a lot of division. We see a lot of duality. We see a lot of polar opposites, if you will. And, it's hard to look at someone who's making you angry and to see the oneness with that person, to embrace the unconditional love of someone who's making you so angry, and vice versa. So let's jump right into it. And we're going to start with the concept of unconditional love. What is unconditional love? Unconditional love is love without conditions. Now, you might say that's impossible. It is impossible to love someone without conditions. You have to have boundaries. Boundaries and conditions are two different things. You can have unconditional love for someone and have a boundary with them. You can love someone from way over there and have a really strong boundary, build that wall, right? With someone and still have unconditional love with them. Unconditional love is a space where we recognize ourselves in that person, where we recognize that piece of divine that dwells within their physical vessel is the same divineness that dwells within our own vessel. We are all drops in the ocean. When the drop comes out, it is individualized, and each one of us has a drop of that ocean, of that divine. But when we return to the ocean, we are no longer individualized. We are once again a part of the divine. And that person across from you who's making you so angry is also a part of the divine. They also carry that divine energy within them. And that's where we embrace unconditional love for them. That's where we're able to step into the oneness, even though they may be the exact opposite of us. Okay, so that's where we start at, is that unconditional love is that space where we recognize the oneness in that person over there, and we love them as we love ourselves unconditionally. And where does that sound familiar from? If any of you have been raised or are still in the Christian faith, that was paraphrasing of what Jesus said: love each other as I have loved you, right? Jesus loves unconditionally. God loves unconditionally. That divine energy, whatever you like to call it Fred if you like, it doesn't matter. It loves us unconditionally. It is connected to us as love, as the soul energy of love, the essence of love. For me, I always kind of see it as that electricity that lights up our brain, the electricity that makes our brain work, that animates our body. That is the divine energy. That electricity is the divine energy, because energy cannot be created or destroyed. It just is. It changes form. And so that electricity is the energy that inhabits our physical vessels, that dwells within us and leaves once we are gone. I actually watched a video the other day of someone who was saying that he believes that consciousness is in the breath, because you can go without water, you can go without food for a while, but you can't go without breath for longer than a few minutes. And then you have to take that deep breath again. And so he likened our breath as God, like the breath of divine. And I thought that was a beautiful way to look at it. So that's where I'm coming from when I say unconditional love, when I say divine. And I'm not a person who gets hung up on semantics. You call it what you like, you see it how you like. There is no judgment. There is room for all opinions, for all faiths, for all, ways of worshiping or seeing the world. We each have our own path to walk, and that's our whole point here, is to walk these paths. My big belief about it is that once we say that's the only answer and I'm not looking at it any other way, and I refuse to listen to anything else, and if you believe differently, you're wrong. That is the space where we stop learning, where we stop growing, and where we block our growth. We block our healing. We block our learning. We block our spiritual expansion when we refuse to be open to listening to other things, because that thing they're trying to tell you may not be for you, but there could be one sentence in there that you can take as your own. I'm not a Christian, and yet I can watch Christian preachers and find those spaces where the divine energy goes, yep, that's true. I get that little ringing in my ear. I get the goosebumps all over, or I get the tingling in my body. I see the golden light. I have the whisper in my ear, where I'm able to see, oh, that's also a true thing, even though it's in a different faith, no matter what that faith is. There is value in all religions. There is value in all belief systems. And once we stop listening or stop learning, then we block our expansion, we block our growth. And quite honestly, that leads us into what's going on right now. Does brotherly love still exist? Is love thy neighbor still a thing? Is oneness still actually a thing in the spiritual community? Do Christians still believe in brotherly love? Do they still believe love thy neighbor? Because I've met a heck of a lot of Christians who are real big on shoving people out, on cruelly excluding people from their faith, from their life, from existence. A lot of misunderstanding, a lot of fear comes forward. And, it's very interesting to watch, and yet it's very scary to see people that are good people. We know that there is good in them. We know that just because they believe differently than us, just because they think that, I don't want to get too political here, but just because they believe that certain groups shouldn't exist, or just because they believe that that person doesn't have a right to get married or whatever it is, doesn't mean that they're actually a bad person. It does mean that their perspective, the things they've been through, the things they've read, the life that they've led, has led them to that belief. And so we need to look at them and see them as if they are us, through the divine eyes, lift ourselves into the observer position and understand why they believe that way, and vice versa. Just because someone might believe that being gay is okay, that being trans is okay, that trans people should be able to call themselves whatever they want, that immigrants belong in the country, that whatever it is that is making that anger, just because someone believes that way, we shouldn't look at them and hate them. We shouldn't immediately cross them out of they're not going to heaven. They are demons. They are satanic because they believe that way. If someone has a belief in, if you want to call it witchcraft or paganism, or is Gnostic, or calls themselves a mystic, or, even thinks that they're in the Federation of Light, whatever it is, and we look at them and we go, oh, they're crazy, they're stupid, they're sheeple. We are not seeing the divine in them. We are not viewing them as a piece of ourself, living a different experience. We have stopped listening to where they are and to their point of view. We call each other names. We get angry about it. We hold grudges about it. Families have broken up. Friendships have broken up. I've had people that were my friends call me a pedo. I've had people that I thought were my friends call me, a sheep, say that I don't care about child trafficking, like, and vice versa. I've had friends of mine that have called other people in our friend group, horrible things, because the anger, that issue, whatever it is that's different, is triggering something in us that is not healed yet. It's not healed yet. It's something within us that is not allowing us to see that other person as a piece of divine, as an extension of divine energy, as a mirror image of us and our issues. And this is not to say that you shouldn't get involved in civic issues, that you shouldn't get involved in politics. Everybody has a road to walk. Some people don't look at it at all. Some people look at it every day. Whatever road you're walking, know that we are all on the path that we are meant to walk. For some people, it is to walk one path and then to have a revelation and step onto the other side. For some people, it's to have a revelation and to step out. For some people, their awakening will come through the recognition of what they are believing or not believing. Does brotherly love still exist? Are we, as spiritual people or as Christians, able to actually live within Christ consciousness, to actually see these other people and to live by his word, or to live by the values of oneness? Can we actually love each other unconditionally? Are we able to let go of those things that make us so angry that we are willing to be vile to each other, that we are willing to hold on to hatred for one another? Are we able to get past that and actually listen to what our brother or sister is actually saying, or to understand why they have the perspective that they do? Are we willing to listen and to shift ourselves into the observer position? That place, oh, that's my alarm, that place where we are no longer listening from our feelings, from our earthbound path, from the life that we've led, and rather we lift ourselves above it and listen from their earthbound path. We listen from a space where our feelings are not engaged, so that we can truly understand where the other person is coming from. We don't have to agree. We don't have to, I'm going to say understand again, but that's not the right word. We don't have to understand why they believe that. Okay? It might be completely unreasonable and illogical and nonsensical why they are holding on to a particular belief. There are people that believe that about the Christian religion, that it's nonsensical and illogical to believe a book that was written 2,000 years ago by people who never even lived during the time of Jesus, right? But there are also people who believe that believing certain things in the news or in the world or on the dark web or on podcasts is illogical to even listen to that and to try to believe it. And some people will not let that go. And so it's very difficult to lift ourselves, especially if you have one person from each world, somebody who's holding on to their beliefs so hard that they are unwilling to lift themselves up out of them, to listen, not agree, but listen and try to understand. Because in that listening, in that understanding is where we find the commonality. In that listening and that understanding is where you are going to recognize that issue within you that may not be healed. It might be injustice. It might be the non-validation of somebody's existence, right? It could be something related to when you were a child. It's not that direct issue, but it's some roundabout related thing. It might be not being heard, not being listened to. There's a lot of things that can trigger us to stubbornly hold on to our beliefs and refuse to listen to anyone else's point of view. But when we do that, we lose brotherly love. When we do that, we are not able to see one another with divine eyes. We are not able to embrace the oneness. And so I want to encourage everyone, especially in these very weird times. Right now, we are going through a funky retrograde of some sort. And I know that Jupiter is playing a big part in it. I'm not the astrology girl, but Jupiter is playing a big part in it. It runs from, I believe, today until the 20th. There's also, I've heard some rumblings from the Galactic Federation of Light that there is a huge thing going on with our DNA, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not the lady who's in the Galactic Federation of Light either. But I have heard that. And I did but I put a video in the playlist of What is the Awakening? If you wanted to watch something on it, I thought it was really interesting. And it's talking about essentially how the words that we use and the beliefs that we express during this time are going to be able to really come to fruition, and that all of the pieces of us in the multidimensional world that we're in are going to be coming together into one form. And so every day we're going to feel a little bit different. And this is a great time for us to embrace unconditional love for others and unconditional love for ourselves along the way. And we'll talk about that next time we get together. I'm so grateful to be back, y'all. I'm so excited. And I just want to tell all of you, first of all, that I have a website called unleashyourlight.org. There is links to all kinds of videos from the last close to decade that I've been broadcasting, mostly on Facebook, but I've taken those videos and kind of reworked them into shorter form with all kinds of little captions and points, like words and all that kind of good stuff. You are always welcome to do that. I want you all to know that you are beloved, you matter, and you are so very loved. Ta da ta ta. I'm still learning how to use this new stuff. I'm sorry. Okay, y'all. I will see you next time. We're going to talk about unconditional love of self. Bye.